Hello there guys, RMP792 here. I've seen Discovery! Yay, I'm actually caught up. So, yes, this is Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow. I knew it was a famous quote, but I had to tick my brain through it. So, this episode was good, but it suffers from the classic problem that a lot of penultimate episodes of things do, in that it's like 95% setup for interesting stuff that's going to happen in the finale. This is very much moving everybody around to where they need to be for the grand epic end of the season. So while that's not really a problem for the overall season, it does leave this episode feeling a little underwhelming and incomplete, I think is the best way to describe it. Sorry, my contact list has been playing up a little. That would be the proviso, I would say, in that I suspect if you watch this episode and next week's episode, which isn't out yet, obviously, back to back, they probably work better than this episode does on its own. It's classic first part syndrome. So, again, not a major problem in of itself, but it is something to note going forward. So we begin the episode with the Enterprise having turned up somehow. And Discovery sort of docking so that they can offload all their crew. I don't know about you guys, I would not have trusted those docking things. They looked a bit spindly and they've only got force fields around the edge. I'd have been moving my ass through as quickly as possible if I had to use one of those. I was assuming they were just going to dock saucer sections or something like that, but or maybe just ferry everybody over in shuttles, but I appreciate that would take a while. This also confirms that Discovery and the Enterprise are much of a muchness size-wise, which I still find weird, given that Discovery's crew complement's about 100 and change, whereas the Enterprise is 450-odd. But then again, the Enterprise is meant to be a long-range exploratory vessel, so cramming people in a bit tighter might be a sensible move in that case, because it gives you, more people for whatever you're going to encounter out there. So there is a certain amount of logic to that. So I'm not going to harp on about that or anything else. I'll harp on about some stuff, but it's me. But yes, and so we get to see the bridge of the Enterprise, and it's not bad. It's not quite right, but given the way they've been updating, it's not bad at all. And it was generally nice to hear a lot. They kept a lot of the original sound effects for things, which I really liked. Again, a lot of those sound effects are goofy 60s sci-fi stuff, and that's part of the reason why I like them. So that was good. Once again, it was very nice to see number one again. Wow, my throat went really weird for a second. Apparently, I'm just falling apart this morning. But yeah, so that was pretty good. And so they. People are grabbing various bits and bobs that they want off Discovery, and then they skedaddle off the ship, and then they rig the self-destruct. And I just sat there going, it's not going to work, guys. The data's already demonstrated it's willing to protect itself, and it's in Discovery's computers. So it's just going to block it. And then, they try to fire some torpedoes, which doesn't work because Discovery's shields are up, to which my response is, the shields aren't magic, right? You can get through them. I mean, yeah, you'd have to pummel through them, but you've got an hour. It doesn't take an hour to pummel your way through those shields, especially given that the Enterprise is really well armed. Here's the thing. Starfleet may not be military in that sense, but they believe in protecting themselves when necessary. So the Enterprise is very well armed for its era. Because again, she was designed to operate independently. So, yeah, she done got good guns. So, and again, proper photon torpedo sound effects when they fire, so yay. They take some shots and it doesn't work, so they decide, okay, well, this isn't going to work. What do we do now? And they eventually realize that if they can rebuild the suit, because they have the tech specs for it, they could use it to open a space-time wormhole and get the Discovery way into the future, fly it through an autopilot, and then come back and leave the Discovery in the future where the data will be safe. This plan goes slightly awry. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. Sorry, I just remembered one of the shorts where the Discovery is in the far future. Interesting. Anywho, but yes, as you would expect, this plan goes slightly awry because they realise that it took the power of a supernova last time to charge the crystal, and they don't have one of those handy. So they end up contacting Tilly's friend from one of the shorts. And side note, minor rant about Netflix. Netflix, please move the shorts. They're currently listed under the trailers and more tab, and you kind of didn't bother telling anybody they were there. So if I hadn't spotted an article online I think it might even have been a tweet that just said, "Oh, by the way, apparently these are in here for some reason," I wouldn't have even known they were there, and I wouldn't have seen them. And as a result, I would have been wondering who this character was. So yeah, if you could move those to somewhere better, that would be nice. So between season 1 and 2 would be the obvious place to put them, to my mind. But anyway, that's not really a complaint about the show. That's just a complaint about Netflix. Because if you're not aware, if you're outside the US, CBS All Access is not available anywhere outside the US. So their non-US distribution is just done by Netflix. So sorry to all you poor Americans who have to pay extra for CBS All Access. We just get it with our standard Netflix subscription. Sorry, I feel kind of bad about that. So I lost my track. Oh yeah, so there's another one of the mysterious signals which they're starting to suspect might be sent from the future by Michael, because it has to be her using the suit because it was coded to her mother's DNA. I would assume that was just a security feature, but apparently in some way the suit was designed specifically for her DNA. I don't know. It's technobabble, but, go with it. So they figure Michael should be close enough that, they can get away with it. So they're starting to suspect that that's the reason why they thought Michael was inside the suit, because there's effectively 2 Red Angels. So they... so one has been sending the signals, and the other is the one that's actually been travelling backwards and forwards in time, trying to interfere. So another one of the signals crops up over the homeworld of Tilly's genius friend, who's also the Queen, and she turns up and she's very, very helpful, and that they start charging the crystal, and a lot of this episode is focused on the character interactions, and again, getting people where they need to go, character-wise. So we've got Stamets and Culver have a sequence where they're trying to reconcile to a certain extent, while admitting that again they're still different people from who they used to be, and they need to sort of get to know each other. And I'll freely admit, I need a big flashing neon sign that just says "Kiss him, you fool," because it could have applied to either one of them in that scene. Quite frankly, the tension there was just, oh, come on, one of you, oh, god damn it. And their new engineer, whose name I haven't learned yet, who continues to be great. She's a riot of fun in every scene she's in. I'm hoping she's going to be a regular going forward. Because she was a lot of fun. And so that was good. And she clearly, and they basic comment is, well, we're running out of time, because we've got to get this time crystal, because they end up basically jumping away, and the Enterprise goes at maximum warp to catch up with them. So they basically say, well, the Enterprise will arrive in 50 odd minutes, and in 57 minutes, and the bad guys are 10 minutes behind them. To which my attitude was, still not 47. Anywho, but yes, so they're running out of time, so they basically all have to come up with a crazy ass plan. So charge the time crystal, use the time crystal power a rebuilt version of the suit, use that suit to open a wormhole, jump Discovery through into the future where the data will be safe. Now, Control, even if it doesn't get this sphere data, it's not going to go away. I mean, it's a hyper-intelligent AI construct that, while it isn't truly sentient yet, even without the sphere data, I would assume it's capable of gaining sentience eventually. And it's clearly tapped into enough of Starfleet that they can't use long-range subspace communication relays, which means they're limited to short-range ship-to-ship stuff, which means that they're running low on options, basically. So yeah, and or is the implication that it's limited to just the Section 31 ships, and at the moment, so the various Section 31 ships that arrive, is that meant to be their entire fleet? Because I mean, there was, they said there was about 30 of them. And as I say, Section 31 is a super secret spy organization. It doesn't need that many ships that are that big. Now if you said they had 30 ships that were designed for, 2 or 3 people and that had really advanced stealth technology or something like that, that's something Section 31 could make use of. But starships? I still don't think they need them. And again, I want to know how the hell they hid that in the R&D budget. And again, I know Starfleet Star Trek operates in a post-scarcity system where they don't actually need money, but they do still use resources for various things. And, just because you don't have to pay for those resources doesn't mean you don't have to acquire them. The Starfleet economy kind of is insane and doesn't really make sense because it was dreamed up by an idealist, 60 odd years ago. But so anywho, but yeah, and it's other than that, it's mostly just character setup, and they eventually. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. God, my body is not cooperating with me today. Nope. Okay, I think I'm good. So yeah, and what they eventually end up doing is, getting surrounded by a whole bunch of ships, and yeah, that's where we leave off. That's the cliffhanger. But again, the focus of this episode is mostly in getting people where they need to be for the finale, and on the character drama that they have within that. So within that we've got Sarek and Amanda turn up to basically say goodbye to Michael because she thinks she's going to have to stay behind in the future. And that scene I found a bit weird because, again, Katras do not work that way. But the other thing is, either the planet they're on right now, or near right now, is really close to Vulcan, or Sarek's shuttle is really damn nippy. For him to be able to get there and cheese it out of there before the bad guys arrive. So, again, the acting in the scene is really good. The scene is quite well written. It just feels like they used a few twists and leaps of logic to get them to that scene, which I'm not a massive fan of. There's also the reference, once they're back on board the Enterprise, to the fact that they completely ripped out the holographic communication circuit because that's what screwed up the Enterprise. So it's a case of, we're never putting that back in. Which, okay, that's why it's not there in the original show. Fair enough. You could have avoided that by just not having it in the show in the first place. But again, a lot of this season has felt like course correction. Taking the things that people didn't like or people like me whinged about and saying, okay, here's why this makes sense. Which weirdly is a thing that Enterprise Season 4 did a lot, but Enterprise Season 4 kind of did it better in a weird way. Largely because most of the continuity problems that Enterprise kicked up, they managed to explain away using big ridiculous stories, like, again, the Klingon forehead ridges thing. Which now doesn't make sense because the Klingons have new makeup in this that's just mad. Anyway, so yeah. So, oh god, Star Trek continuity has always been a nightmare and will always be a nightmare. Again, this is what always happens to long-running science fiction properties. The continuity gets really wibbly. You think Star Trek's bad? Try watching Doctor Who sometime and just making note of all the points when the continuity doesn't make sense. I mean, Doctor Who has 3 completely independent versions of Atlantis, for pity's sake. No, seriously, they've done the Atlantis sinks storyline 3 times in 3 completely different ways. I wouldn't be surprised if New Who does it again at some point. But, yeah, so I'm trying to think, what other big scenes are there in this? There's Pike leaving and Pike going back to his command of the Enterprise. And yeah, I liked seeing Pike in the the TOS uniform again. That was good. That was nice. Because again, Starfleet uniforms should be ridiculous and colourful and over the top. And yeah, so he basically gives this big goodbye speech, and wishes them all luck before going back to what is effectively his ship. And Pike has been a really good captain this season. I've enjoyed him as the captain, while knowing in my mind that there was no possible way he could stay as captain. He has to go back to the Enterprise at the end of the season, or as he has now. But it was really nice, him just acknowledging each of the various bridge officers and saying good luck to all of you and Godspeed and all that stuff. And his comment to Michael and Saru basically being, well, we'll have to figure out, we'll figure out the captain thing later. To which my response is, no, Michael should not be the captain. Give the damn job to Saru. Seriously, just Captain Saru. I was thinking that last season. He's got better this season. Give the damn chair to that man. Plus that would actually be our first alien captain in Star Trek. Or main character captain, I should say. We've seen plenty of Andorians and Vulcans and what have you as captains, but you know what I mean. They weren't the main captain of the show, so that would be good to see. And yeah, so it's a lot of set piece storytelling in that regard. Oh, sorry. Move person here, have conversation, do that, but. The interesting thing is when a lot of them basically volunteer to stay behind. They know that where they're going, they may never come back from, and they've all resigned themselves to that. And there's a really nice montage of them all writing letters or recording messages to important people in their lives, people they love, people they're never going to see again. So Stamets is recording one for what I'm assuming is either... Based on the way he's talking, I'm assuming it was a sibling. I don't think there was any specific mention of brother or sister, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Detmer was recording one to her best friend. The navigator, his name I can't remember, was recording one for her parents. And so on and so forth. Saru was recording one for his sister. And again, that's a really nice little montage. I really did quite like that. Because they basically all decided, we're in this together. We are a crew. If you're going to pull this off successfully, you're going to need us. And that was really nice to see. And we didn't see Culver in that mix, I don't think. Or I don't recall seeing him. So, not sure if he's going to be going or staying. So, yeah, we will see that definitively next episode. And then... Oh, crowdy. Yeah, I'm just falling apart this morning for whatever reason. And Michael and Ash have a conversation where he basically says he wants to go, but he can't because he feels responsibility for Section 31. He feels like if somebody like him, who has a moral code, isn't there to keep an eye on them, Section 31 will we'll just try this again. They'll do something really dodgy, which could end up destroying everything they're supposed to protect. And he's kind of right. I mean, Section 31 in DS9, where they were introduced, really are the dirty tricks department of the Federation. They will do some very dodgy things. I mean, they use what is effectively a bioweapon, against the Founders in the Dominion War. And actually, there's no essentially about it. It's a bioweapon. That they infect them with a plague that slowly kills them. They are very sneaky and they are not morally right. Again, they protect the ideals of the Federation by taking the ideals of the Federation and beating them to death with a hammer. Sounds like a contradiction. Kind of is. Kind of isn't. Aren't moral grey areas grand? So yeah, so Ash decides he has to stay behind, and they they have a smooch. Again, I'm still not a massive fan of their relationship. It's not a problem with the actors. I think the problem is it dominated too much of season 1, and it just kind of started to annoy me there. So whenever it turns up again in season 2, it's just like, oh god, not this bollocks again. And again, the two actors in question do actually have quite good chemistry. So I'm genuinely not sure what the problem is. I think it really is just overexposure from that first season. Because I don't have any of those problems with Stamets and Culver, for example. Whenever you see their relationship stuff going on, it's just, oh, this is a scene with Stamets and Culver. This is a nice scene because again, the actors have really great chemistry. But yeah, for some reason the Ash Michael relationship just doesn't quite work for me, and I'm not sure whether they're implying Giorgio's staying on Discovery or if she's getting the heck off it, because she was the one who beamed Ash and Pike away, back over to the Enterprise, which implies she's staying behind, but not sure. Yeah. All right. There we go. But yes, and Ash basically says, to Pike, do you trust me? Because if you do, I need to leave before this all kicks off. So Ash has clearly got some sort of secret plan, secret agenda, secret thing going on. And I'm curious to see where that goes. But yeah, and then the grand finale of the episode is all of the ships jumping in around them. And we were just looking at it going, so, we're surrounded by enemy ships. And I'm just looking at the display going, you're in a spaceship, right? You can go up and down. You do realise what they reminded me of there? There's a brilliant bit in Star Trek 2, in Wrath of Khan, where they're hunting hunting each other in a nebula. And Spock's comment to Kirk is, he is intelligent, but not experienced. His pattern indicates two-dimensional thinking. Because, of course, Khan was primarily a ground forces commander during the Eugenics War. He ordered troops around, and they didn't really have to think about, the third dimension beyond, there's some dudes in the 5th floor of that building. So we need to get into that building and work our way up. Beyond that, he never really had to worry about, the extra dimension, because he had Air Force commanders to, keep the enemy Air Forces off his back. Whereas, in a space battle, you've got a third dimension to play with. You go up, you go down, you go left, you go right, you go sideways. So they were able to outmaneuver Khan by basically just going, so he's sort of trundling along here, and they just sort of, and he's sort of, hello, bang. Did I just describe one of the most interesting space battles in? Yeah, I did. Okay. God, I'm a heathen sometimes. So, yes, and that that seems to me the obvious thing to do, because again, you'd like to think Control will be smarter than to form up in a circle around them and not a ball around them so that they can't run. Because incidentally, they've flat stated they can't use the Spore Drive because it'll take quite a while to recharge because they've been using it to help power the Time Crystal. Again, I point out if they'd gone a ridiculous way, like 400 light years or something, actually no, screw 400 light years. Go jump your ass out of the galaxy. Seriously, just like a couple of 50,000 light years out into interstellar space. There's going to be bugger all out there. You're going to be completely safe from Control for as long as you goddamn need. And at that point, you just jump back in and do whatever you need to do. Again, it's one of the problems the Spore Drive creates in the storytelling of Discovery because it's too powerful. Because it allows for near instantaneous travel over near infinite distance, as it's been established, it's so superior to warp drive in that regard that it kind of breaks the story sometimes, because there's usually a way they can use it that's more effective than the way they are using it. But yeah, so and the final shot of the episode is just the Enterprise, the Discovery, a whole bunch of drones and shuttlecraft and things that they've reconfigured for combat, surrounded by a whole bucket load of Section 31 ships. And yeah, they're outmanned and outgunned on this one, because there's an awful lot of Section 31 ships out there, and there's only 2 of them. But we will have to see where this goes. I'm looking forward to the big finale. I'm suspecting we're going to get some big, epic, massive space battle, which... I know, it's Star Trek. I like a big, epic space battle. Again, there's a reason why I like the space combat in Star Trek Online, even if there is too much of it. But, overall, good, solid setup for the next episode without being... But it suffers from not being a satisfying story in of itself, if that makes sense. Again, it's watching the first part of a 2-parter and then having to wait for the second part. And sometimes they do a really good job of that. Best of Both Worlds Part 1, for example, actually tells a very self-contained personal story for Riker in amongst the grand scheme, because the personal story for Riker is he ready for the big captain's chair? And at the end of the episode, when he looks up at his captain who's been taken by the Borg, and says fire, is the moment where Riker proves he is ready for the chair. Of course, he doesn't take the damn thing after that, but what can you do? But as an individual episode, it works. It works on its own merits, and this doesn't. Again, it makes me very excited for the next part. But this isn't an episode I would want to rewatch on its own. I would watch this one and the next one. So again, that's not necessarily a problem. It's just narrative blue balls is the most horrible way I could think to describe that. So yeah. Either way, that, I think, is all I've got on this episode of Discovery. I will hopefully see the next one in time to get my thoughts out on it next Monday. And I'll also talk about Season 2 as a whole. And, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in future videos.